Alright everyone, you see how I'm here and I'm in a Jupyter notebook at the moment. The reason for this is just it's easier for you to see how to build this code if I do it from here. You'll notice that I've made a couple of comments on the task that we're supposed to do, but otherwise it's an empty page, okay? So use comments if you want to help you remember what you're doing as you do it. So the first thing that we need to do is use the input command to get a number, because what we're trying to do is, build an if, elif, and else conditional statement that receives a number and then does some sort of task. So we ask it to pick your lucky number. And how we do that is with the input command. Remember, if you want more information about input command, make sure that you read up on the documentation on it. But we have looked at this a little bit before, so you go pick a lucky number. Now remember, the input command will then ask the user for a response. And then in order to save the response of the user, we have to assign it to an object. So this input function will, stop the program, pull up a little box or a cursor, and you have your information. You have the thing that it's asking you for. And then if you respond to it and press enter, it's going to save in this object called response, remember? So this is exactly how we did variable assignment in previous classes. We have our variable name, our assignment operator, and then this function, which is going to dynamically pass in a response that we give it. Okay, so when we do this, remember guys that when we do this though, the input command is only passing in the string response, okay? So there are a couple of ways to go about doing this. The first is you can just dynamically type, and if the person doesn't input a number, this whole program will just fail. So if I type 3 or something, this will error. But if I type 3, it won't, and it will be an integer response. Print type a response. Okay, and this is indeed an int. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is how to build the if, elif, and else conditional. I'm going to give you a bit of a pause and then probably try and introduce a bonus concept to you. Maybe you can figure out a better way of doing this. That there is a way to create this function or create this logic such that if the person doesn't pass in an integer, it won't error. It will just start again. So what we'll do is we'll show you just the conditional statement, and I'll give you a little bit at the end and maybe introduce you a new concept. So in this one, we're going to go, remember that we need to do these 3 things here. And we're going to build an if statement around this. So the first thing we do is if response is greater than 20, because we know this has to be an integer at the moment. If it's greater than 20, print data. If response, and now we need to get an odd number, this is where our modulo function will be very useful. Modulo 2. Remember, when it's mod 2 equals 0, that means it's an odd number, or even number, but when it's 1, it means it's an odd number. So if response mod 2 equals 0, this needs to be an elif, remember, because we have 2 if conditionals. If we did this, each if statement would evaluate one at a time. Both of these would evaluate. However, remember with elif, if it's an if-elif statement, this elif will only run if the previous if statement was untrue. Whereas with this, both can be true and both will print. So we're going to print science in this case. And then the last thing is our otherwise print rules. Okay, so let's try this out. 23 prints data. 2 prints rules. Why does it print rules? Because this is not greater than 20 and it's not an odd number. Let's do 4,000. Let's do 2. And then let's do 3. There you go. So all features are hit there. Now, what happens again if we do 3 here? That's not great, right? So I want to give you a little bit of a bonus thing. There are 2 ways to go about doing this. One of them would be using something called a while loop, which will be introduced to you in the next chapter. But I want to introduce to you this thing called try and except. Try and except. It works just like an if-else statement, except for errors. So you can do, you get it to try and run a response, or try and run something. And if it doesn't run, if there's an error that comes up with it, you can catch the error and do something else instead. That was not a number. Try using the number pad. Like that. Okay? And what happens when we do this now? We can also have it go like... let's just leave it at that for now. This will still error, but we'll see what happens. So let's run this. What's going on? Why is it erroring? Let's restart our kernel. Something silly must have happened. Try, accept. Strange. There it is. Don't know why it took so long. There we go. Let's run 3 now. And let's go. That was not a number. Try using a number pad. We can have other functions in here that are, you know, won't have it catch the error after. But I wanted to show you the try and accept as a possible option to solve this issue with, you know, having input not be an integer even though you want it to be. Okay, guys, so there's the answer basically right here. I did not ask you specifically to do error handling with strings, so this is literally what it is, okay? But I do want to show you a couple other things and tricks in there, and I think that worked out fairly well. So thank you very much, guys, and let's see you in the next lecture.